Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 371. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
How was your 4th of July weekend?
I watched Jaws and I drank some beer.
Nice.
So, good. Yeah.
Man, that sounds like that's all you could want.
Pretty much.
I mean, the only thing that I might add to that is like cookout food. You know, some potato salad, some macaroni salad, some burgers and dogs on the grill. Oh.
Yeah. I had shrimp and grits. So I didn't have the other thing.
Oh, okay. I had shrimp.
But, yeah.
I actually had shrimp yesterday, too.
Holy shit. Did you watch Jaws?
I didn't. I should have.
Well, my day was better than yours.
It was.
So fuck off.
Without a doubt. This week on the show, we have 2 reviews lined up for you with Relic and We Are Little Zombies. We'll also be going over someone watching on the watch list and new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be super helpful. A couple bits of housekeeping news. We're still trying to coordinate with Ryan and get a schedule going with recording. So I'm hoping that we can get back to a regular thing soon. I am in the midst of moving, so that's kind of taking up like all of my time right now. With that, I'm not sure that we will have an episode next week because I'm going to be in the middle of actually moving to a different state. So we're leaving on Saturday, so I don't think I'll be in a position to record.
No,
because it's going to take like 3 days to get down there. So stay tuned for that. I will send out a tweet with updates. With that, I think we can dive into our review. I was thinking that we could start with Relic. Yeah, both of these movies that we're talking about today come out on Friday on VOD. Relic is going to be on regular VOD. The other one that we'll be talking about in a bit is going to be on virtual theatrical, but I will reiterate that when we talk about it. Relic is directed by Natalie Erica James. I have a synopsis here. A daughter, mother, and grandmother are haunted by a manifestation of dementia that consumes their family's home. I guess I'll start this one off. I'm a big fan I'm a huge fan of horror movies, as you all know. I consume horror movies like it's going out of style, and maybe that's why I was not very taken with Relic. I thought that by and large, it was a pretty standard, very slow burn kind of supernatural horror movie. It felt like, I don't want to say that they were like biting off of Hereditary, but I think with movies like Hereditary, there was like a trend. And I don't know if it started with Hereditary necessarily, but we've seen this kind of trend in horror movies of late. And this movie to me just feels like kind of a more banal version of Hereditary, where you have like, I mean, it says it in the synopsis, and you know, like sort of what it all means, what it all represents, and you have this lineage of women in this family, and the eldest is not diagnosed, but it seems pretty obvious that she has dementia, and some creepy stuff happens as a result. I just, for me, it just wasn't really anything of note except for the end, which we can get into a little bit. Might even do like a little bit of a spoiler talk on this. But so anyway, my initial impressions were like kind of like meh, nothing too special here. What about you, Kevin? What were your initial impressions?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. It's a slow burn. But, I mean, which I'm not against slow burns by any means, right? But usually with a slow burn, you have something, either atmosphere or, something that compels you, that engages you.
Little breadcrumbs, just a little bit of a hook that keeps you engaged. Something. Like, something's not right here. What's going on here? I love slow burn horror movies. I think that those are some of the most effective ones when there is that buildup.
The slow burn here is really nothing because from the outset, you know what's going on. Like, she has dementia. And you know that most of the stuff that's happening is either from her not knowing what she's doing in the middle of the night, or this, this spiritual manifestation of dementia. So like, and there's just so much of nothing, and it suffers from one of the things that really irritates me in movies, and especially horror movies, because it's just done so often. Is like one character will get a piece of information that's really like it's big news, it's big stuff that should be shared with everyone in the house, and they don't share it ever. They're just like, oh, I'll keep this to myself. It's just like, why are you not talking to each other? Like, you found a post-it note that says don't follow it. Maybe bring that up. Be like, hey, what are you talking about? What do you mean don't follow it? What are you following? It's just stupid stuff like that, and it's just so much of nothing. And okay, like you, the ending is pretty solid, but it takes forever to fucking get there. And it's not really surprising in any way, because you're just like, okay, now I finally get to see what the bigger picture here of what's going on. I already knew what it was, but now you're just opening the door and showing me the scope of it, and it's like, okay, great, but it's not really surprising in any way.
I thought there was going to be more to it than that. I thought that there was going to be a little bit more mystery, a little bit more intrigue, because I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was like a marketing email I got or something that was talking about like a curse that's passed down from generation to generation. And then this movie is about like 3 generations of women under this one house and how this curse affects them. And it's like, I thought there was going to be more of that. Like, I thought it was going to be an actual curse, and that curse represented dementia, but it's not that. It's much more surface level than that. And
it's just, dementia being hereditary.
Yeah.
Like that.
The curse is dementia in this case. And
yeah,
I wanted it to be more like, I wanted the dementia, this manifestation. I wanted the metaphor to be something a little bit more obtuse, And
we've seen it before. There's been a handful of movies that have done, horror dementia.
Yeah, there was a movie, I believe it was called Dementia.
Well, there's what is it? The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of the same thing. If I'm thinking of the right movie, pretty sure it's that one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, there was a movie in 2015 called Dementia with Gene Jones, and I think that was one of the first like horror movies I saw that used dementia as a device for horror, and I thought that they did it pretty good in that movie. But by the time that Relic comes out, this is just kind of more of the same.
Yeah.
Now,
but it's also at this point in time, not only is it not fresh, but we're getting to the point now, at least for me, where it feels almost kind of damaging, and in a way kind of more harmful to like dementia as an actual thing, kind of like making it into this, where it's kind of like got this J horror aspect where she's like, this disgusting creature crawling on the floor and her hair's falling out and she's joints going all over the place. And it's just like, is that what you think dementia is? Like, it's just a person that's lost, like, in their own mind. Like, it's not this disgust. Like, why do we keep demonizing it like this?
I think that's where the horror aspects of it come from. They make it slimy and gross and ugly and violent and scary, when you don't necessarily have to do that, because dementia in and of itself is horrifying. Like the idea of losing one's mind. And I think that there are probably really interesting visual representations you can do to show dementia and make it horrifying without going to the old tried and true, like, gross naked old person,
Yeah. And that's where it's kind of getting old, and it kind of feels more so insulting than anything. Now, I do like what they do here, where they have kind of like the mirrored house that's like deteriorating.
Yeah,
like that's very interesting. I like that. I like that thematic visual that they came up with. But again, it felt a little bit, too little, too late.
to be clear, like I think that certain visual flourishes and decisions that they made in this, I think that they were effective. Like the whole rotting underneath the skin and stuff, like that whole thing was really effective and insanely creepy. I mean, there were a few moments of this movie that like genuinely made my skin crawl, and it almost turns into like a body horror movie at one point.
Yeah.
And like there are several things in this where I'm just like, oh, very made me shudder.
I don't know if I like it necessarily, but I do find it interesting that there's a whole host of horror films, especially with like haunted houses or things affecting people in some way, supernatural things. Like I love how there's always the out, like very early on, where you're just like, well, there's black mold in the house. That's what's going on here. Like, you guys need to get out of there.
It's like that that quote,
like every movie.
It's that quote that quote unquote documentary about the guy who buys who bought that house, and like all of the people that were like having problems, and it was because it was just infested with black mold.
Yeah, just get out of the house. There's black mold everywhere.
I did think that there were a number of really interesting sequences. Unfortunately, almost all of them came at the very, very end of the movie, and I think that everything leading up to that was just very bland and sort of paint by numbers. And I thought that the characters themselves were very one note, one dimensional, and not very complex either. I mean, you have Emily Mortimer in here as sort of the mom, and like she just didn't really have much to work with. Robin Nevin was the eldest one. She was the grandma, and then you have Bella Heathcote is the youngest one, the granddaughter. And none of them really had anything to work with. Like, I just didn't think that any of them did anything interesting. I mean, obviously Robin Nevin playing the crazy grandma had the most to do, but even her character was, I thought, inconsistent in that, like, I didn't really get the sense that it was someone slowly succumbing to dementia. It just seemed like she was kind of evil from the get-go. Like, she never seemed nice. She never seemed like herself. And I don't know, I just wasn't really buying into any of the characters' motivations or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I do want to highlight, I actually don't think we need to go into spoilers for this, because I think that we both sort of articulated what we thought of the effects work and stuff towards the end, but they do use it's all practical effects, at least from what I could tell, and they do some really interesting sort of animatronic work in it, which was a huge surprise, and I thought looked really good.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. That's what I mean. That's the thing that's difficult with this movie is like the last, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes maybe is really, really good. But unfortunately, it's an hour and a half long. So a large majority of this movie is like really just extremely bland. Just really, really bland.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because I really do think that final act is worth watching. But
yeah.
But the thing is, like, is the rest of long. Is the first 2/3 of the movie even necessary? Like, I would argue that it's not really necessary. I mean, you could boil that first 2/3 down to like a 5 to 10 minute sequence and still come out of the movie feeling the same way and getting the same amount out of it.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't really even need it if you read the synopsis beforehand. But even then, at the end, with even that during that last sequence, I think you can surmise that we're talking about dementia here.
Yeah,
like that's the only thing that you need to know is that, and that's the irritating thing about this movie is like all that setup is like I don't know if they're trying to hint towards dementia or having you like kind of guess or second guess whether it's dementia or something else that's going on, but I never really got that sense. It's just from the outset that this is dementia and this is a stand-in for dementia.
Yeah, I mean, the synopsis says it. I knew it before, like, going into the movie, I knew what it was. And even from, like, the opening moments, I mean, the reason that the two of them are there is because she goes missing and she's, like, found
Yeah.
wandering. So it seems incredibly telegraphed from the very beginning what this all represents. And at first, it seems like, as I said before, that they're hinting at something else, like some sort of other nefarious, malevolent force in their family, but no, they don't go there.
No, yeah, they're not.
They don't go there with it. That's Relic. I really can't recommend it, despite the strong finale. Also, let's put a moratorium on bathtub sequences. Like, I can't tell you the number of horror movies that involve a scary bathtub sequence, and it's just like, unless you're going to come up with something completely new and bold,
Yeah,
let's just end it,
yeah.
because we all see it coming. I'm sitting at like maybe like a 4 on this one.
Yeah, I think I might go like a little bit. I might go to like a 4.5.
There you have it. IFC is putting out Relic on Friday. Let's move on and talk about our second movie, We Are Little Zombies. This is directed by Makoto Nagahisa. Synopsis states, 4 Japanese orphans form a rock band. Keeping it simple.
Yep,
keeping it
do.
brief.
Yep.
Keeping it simple.
That is a true sentence.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kevin, we'll start with you on this one. What did you think of We Are Little Zombies?
This is, it's a debut right off the bat. Keep that in mind. So it's a little bit unwieldy to me. Like there's a little bit too much going on. Like, swinging for the fences here, straight out the gate with this first movie. And when it works, it works. There's plenty of sequences that work really, really well. Apparently, this is a guy that has done a bunch of music videos, worked for like a advertising agency, which it kind of comes off that that's his background. And again, like when it works, it works. But there's to me, it's almost like he's trying to do too much. There's just so much going on, and after a while, given the runtime and kind of given the meandering nature of this story, it becomes a little bit irritating here and there.
It is a little bit of an exhausting movie.
Yes. Yeah, there's just so much.
I think that this is a movie that is very clearly a debut from a director who has come from the world of music videos, because there's a little bit of everything in this. Like, a lot of it feels like a music video. There are certain times where it feels more like a commercial. There's many different styles. I mean, this is definitely one of these kind of kitchen sink movies where this guy had obviously a ton of ideas for framing, visuals, different transitions, all kinds of structure going on here. And he threw it all in there. He wanted to have it all. And I agree with you. When it works, I think it works. I think for the most part, like overall, this movie did work for me. And I also can kind of understand the sporadic nature of it, where you have this cast of 4 characters and each of them have their own sort of interests and things like that. So the movie's visuals sort of cater towards each character. And so I can kind of get the different visual styles that are thrown in here and all the crazy camera work and stuff, but it is too much. There's way too much going on in this movie, especially because the storytelling there's like so many different tendrils that are happening with the storytelling, where it goes through each of the 4 kids and their background, and then the band, and then like there's these little asides that it'll take, like when it follows the bus driver around. There's certain things like I didn't think that was necessary at all to do that.
No, and that's where it gets kind of irritating, is because you have so many different styles for all these little tangents in the main storyline and this and that. And even when you get to like a section like that, it's this like a camera affixed to the front, like upwards to his face, like it's attached to his body, and he's walking around. It's just like it's too much. There's just too many different styles going on for just really superfluous things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like. So this was this was shot on an Arri Alexa as its main camera, but some scenes were shot with GoPro, some scenes were shot with an iPhone. The formatting is all over the place. It's for people who like consistency in their movies. This is not it, because this movie is frantic, but it's also very creative, and I think that a lot of the visual styles are fun and interesting and kinetic, and they fit the story in really kind of fun ways. So yeah. I don't have a lot to complain about as far as that, but it is a bit too much at times.
Yeah, I think the main thing that gets me is you essentially have this movie broken up into thirds. With the first third is just the like assembling the team and introducing everybody, and kind of like a little bit of their backgrounds in 4 chapters, you know. And then the second third is, you know, that obviously them forming the band and them having, you know, it's kind of that telltale, you know, rising fame, and then they end it. And then the third, I'm not even sure what it is. That's where it kind of started to lose me. It's kind of when they came out of the rock band, and I'm just kind of like, what is the message of it? What are we getting at? Like, what are we trying to do? Over the course of 2 hours? And it like the most I could come up with is that like the main kid, you know, that plays the game, the Little Zombies game, is that like he realizes like, oh, I just gotta keep going even though life sucks. Like that. We're like, really? That was it took 2 hours to come to that, to do that?
There's a lot of pretty heavy subject matter discussed here, and because it's told from the perspective of 4 kids, I think that it's interesting to see them handle grief in different ways. And just to step back a little bit, the synopsis obviously doesn't tell you much about this movie at all, but the basic premise is that these 4 kids who are about 13 years old each, they all lose their parents in different ways. So they're all they meet at like the funeral home, and they become friends through this kind of shared loss. And each of them had troubled backgrounds where none of them were really close to their parents, so none of them feel that sort of immense grief that I think most children would, and they're trying to sort of process that. And through this kind of friendship that they spark up, they decide to form a band. And their video that they make, which by the way, I loved their video. I thought that was one of the best scenes in the movie, the actual music video, because it was all done in one shot and there was just so much going on in there. But anyway, their video sort of goes viral, and they get like a manager and stuff, and they become really famous. And then all of a sudden they decide to just stop doing the music and move on, which is sort of, I think, one of the problems of this movie is that it should have ended there, probably. Like, it keeps going.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, wait a minute. I thought this was about these 4 orphans who were starting up a band. They ended the music, so why are we continuing? Like, why does it keep going on past this? And I think it's a movie that had about 3 or 4 different endings, and it just didn't know when
They're all present.
Didn't know when
They're all present.
Didn't know when to quit.
Yeah, no, it definitely has the feeling of, you know, like you said, there's 4 different endings, and then you can tell it like it ended at one point, or so it feels like, and they're like, you know what, let's add 2 more scenes, and then end it. And I was like, well, you know what, I don't know if that works. Let's add 2 more scenes, and it just kind of gets a lot of stuff tacked on at the end here, and that's where it lost me, because I think like once because the original music video that kind of that goes viral and they get the fame from, that's when I like kind of sat up in my seat because I was like, okay, this is all like culminating right now, like all the visuals and all the creativity, it's all culminating, and this song's catchy as hell, and like this is working now, and then it just just felt like unnecessary stuff tacked on after, like you said, is when they decide to call it quits, disband, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps going more and more.
Well, yeah, it goes to some kind of surreal territory towards the end too, which I thought again was kind of a cool visual, but didn't really amount to much.
No, because it just, again, it like it was their point to the surreal nature or the surreal visuals, and it didn't feel like it was. It was just like, okay, here's an opportunity to put in some pulsing brains. And you're like, okay, I guess, like, kudos. It look decent.
Again, I like the overall story, and I like the overall message behind it. You have these 4 unique kids dealing with this trauma in their own way, and I thought that was all done very well. And I like the score. I like the sort of video game aesthetic of everything. I like the chiptune score. Thought that all the music was really quite good. The opening title sequence was awesome. The sort of 8-bit style opening. That was all really cool. So there's a lot that I really enjoyed with this, and I think that overall it was extremely entertaining. I just think it was a little bit messy and probably could have been cleaned up quite a bit and trimmed down to make it a little bit more concise.
Yeah, it's just a bit much. It's a bit overwhelming at times.
Yeah, it did make me really, really, really yearn for going back to Japan, though.
Oh, I mean, I can imagine.
It's just,
but it's also, it's a bit nauseating in a way with it. Like, and I'm all for creativity, but sometimes it's like, okay, you gotta let it just breathe and just not have anything like flashy or creative. Like just little lulls, please.
Yeah. Very high energy, this movie.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like a kid show where everything is just going full throttle, like full energy all the time. Like when you're a kid and you just run everywhere you go. Like at least that's how I was, and I think probably everyone was, where when you're a kid, you just run everywhere. Can you imagine that? Like just running everywhere you go now? Like even, I just got to go get the mail. I'm just going to run. Just going to run there.
No. You know how much my body would hurt?
That's how it was back then. You just run everywhere. And I remember at one point when I was really young thinking, like, why doesn't everybody just run everywhere? Why are people walking? It just seems like such a waste of time, and you can just run everywhere.
That's probably why you end up feeling so terrible when you get older.
Probably.
Because so much unnecessary running at a young age. Just destroying your knees, but you don't feel that until 30 years later.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. So that's We Are Little Zombies. Let's go ahead and give this a score. Kevin, what are you going to give this out of 10?
I give it like a 6.
I'm right there with you. I'm like at a 6.5 on this one. I do recommend checking it out, despite it being a little rough around the edges. I think that it is still pretty fun watch, and it's certainly unique. I mean, we are coming off of a movie that is pretty not unique in every single way to a movie like this, where there's very few movies that I can compare it to. So that's a win in my book.
Yes.
Again, that's We Are Little Zombies. Oscilloscope is putting that out on virtual theatrical on Friday, so give it a look. All right, let's move on and talk about someone we're watching. I don't remember whose turn it is. We had a week off, so I'm not sure. I think it's you.
I think it's going to be me. Okay. Now, I watched Pacific Heights from 1990. from John Schlesinger, the same British director, Marathon Man, Midnight Cowboy, Billy Liar, all those. So this is the movie that got me wanting to watch Money Pit, which I know is something that you fulfilled this week.
Completely by coincidence, too, by the way.
But it was like ever since I watched this movie, I was like, God damn, I'm gonna watch Money Pit. I know I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I need to see it again. And the reason for that is this is Matthew Modine and Melanie Griffith. They buy a place in San Francisco that they can't afford. They buy this beautiful house. They pretty much empty out their savings to buy this thing. They can't afford it. So what they're going to do is rent out the 2 spaces below on the first floor. They're going to make them into two apartments and rent them out, right? So they rent out the first one to this lovely Japanese couple. I mean, picture perfect tenants, right? The other one they rented out to, unfortunately, is Michael Keaton, who's a con man. And this is where it gets ridiculous because Michael Keaton, like, this is all he does. He just goes around and kind of swindles people out of their properties. He becomes a tenant. And the way that this movie's set up is it suggests that tenants hold all of the power in this agreement and that all of the laws in a state are on the side of tenants and they can just do whatever they want. And the landlords just, they are just simply unable to do anything, just completely powerless in this situation, he's insane, right? Like he's changed the locks on his apartment. No one's allowed to come in. He's not paying any money whatsoever. He never does once. He's tearing his apartment apart, just tearing everything out, floors, fixtures, everything, just ruining. He's cut a hole into the other apartment. He's releasing cockroaches into that apartment that they had to essentially, forcing the Japanese couple out. And Matthew Modine and Melanie Griffith, there's nothing they can do. It's just they got to deal with it. He has all the rights. He's protected by law, which is just insane to me because tenants have like no power whatsoever in real life. So it's just kind of this weird viewing experience. And also Michael Keaton it's really interesting watching him because he's kind of this like sociopath. He's really creepy. He keeps kind of goading Matthew Modine into violence, and he really hams it up while Modine is like beating the shit out of him, which is kind of, I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but it's really funny. I don't know if that's intentional, but just like the faces that he made, he really hams it up as he's getting the shit kicked out of him by Matthew Modine, which is just, it's kind of funny to watch. And it just escalates and just gets completely out of hand. And it's a ridiculous movie. It's not that good, but at the same time, it's entertaining as all hell.
I'm going to have to watch this. I've always wanted to watch this, but since I saw Money Pit now, I kind of want to see this. And by the way, I told you when I was watching Money Pit, that movie really holds up. Like I'm
glad to hear it.
That was a movie that I also loved as a kid, and I was laughing hysterically at some of the scenes in that movie. So it definitely holds up.
Good.
How did you watch this, by the way?
I got it delivered by mail from Netflix on the DVD.
Okay.
A little envelope. They do that now.
Okay, I'll have to hit up the old...
I would like to know, like, me and how many other people still get the DVD.
I think Ken still has the DVD package. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
I wouldn't be able to do the DVDs. I'd be able to do the Blu-rays, but the DVDs are just too low quality. I just can't deal with that in my life. I sometimes have to watch DVD screeners, and they're just it's just so bad. Like, they just look so bad to me. Yeah. Anyway, I saw Aquaslash. This is directed by Renaud Gauthier. This is a Canadian horror movie about a murderer that is stalking the people at a water park. And it's got a bit of an 80s slasher vibe to it. And the weird thing is, like, I could never quite tell if this movie was deliberately trying to make itself like a bad 80s slasher, or if it was trying to make like a serious horror movie. I could never tell. Because if it was trying to be a really bad 80s slasher, I guess it worked in that regard. But some of the stuff that happens in this movie is completely incomprehensible. Like the actions of the characters, the dialogue, it is so stupid and ridiculous. But there's some kind of fun things that happen. Interestingly, it's not so much about a killer who goes around picking off these water park people one by one. It's more about like one thing that he does that kills a whole bunch of people at once. So in that regard, it's a little bit different. I'm not going to say what it was, but it was effective. Like the thing that he did was kind of crazy, but for everything else, it was just bad. It was just a very bad, low budget slasher movie. That, I mean, maybe if they had it take place in the 80s, it would have been a little bit more effective, or if they were able to like shoot it, make it look like an older movie or something to make it feel a little bit more dated. But I can't recommend it. It's quite bad. At any rate, it's called Aquaslash, and it is on VOD right now.
I watched Hyenas, 1992. Hyenas, currently on Mubi. You can watch it, remaster from the Senegalese legend, Triple Diab Lambete. And this movie, I think I might have found the movie, or at least for the time being, like as I was watching it, it really got me back into movies. This movie is just fucking perfect in every way, to be honest. It's based on a play by Friedrich Dürrenmatt. So what it is this very, very poor village, and they're in dire straits, right? Just they have nothing. And a extremely wealthy woman returns to the village. She left decades earlier. She's returning. She apparently has infinite cash flow, just so much capital that she's willing to inject into the village, just to help everyone out. Business is going to be booming. Going to take care of everything. She's actually lost like body parts and has them replaced. Like her one arm is solid gold and her one leg is solid gold. Just to give you an idea of like how much money she has, right? So she comes back, and of course they're going to try and cater to her every need in order to get some money, to get some help. And the main guy that's going to help them is Strawman, who runs like this. He runs a store/bar type thing, and he knew her really, really well. They were in love with each other as teenagers before she left. So they're kind of counting on him to make this work. Well, they find out pretty quickly that she's going to help them. She's going to give them all the money that they could ever want, right? And in exchange, she gets to buy the court. And the only thing that they have to do is kill Drama. That's it. The town just has to kill him, and they can have everything that they want. And at first, they're like, absolutely not. Solidarity. He's our friend. He's been here forever. Such a great personality. Such a great guy. No way. We're not doing this. And so it kind of plays into this like consumerism, neo-colonialism, and solidarity's like fatal flaw is like the longer that this goes on, she kind of keeps like floating them credit, and they get to like experience what it's like to have money and like all these great things, wonderful things, and their lives are so much better now. And they kind of realize like, oh, you know what? We could kill Trauma. I mean, he did do a bad thing. So we could get rid of him and just live like kings. And it's got a wonderful mix of comedy and drama. The score is incredible. The costuming is incredible. The locations, the shot compositions, like everything about this movie is just, I don't think I would change anything. It's perfect.
That's Hyenas. Glowing praise.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Man. Well, I hate to bring things back down, but I did see Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. Oh, God. This is directed by David Dobkin.
And it's what we thought it was, isn't it?
It's exactly what we thought it was. The trailers for this, as I said last episode, made it not look funny at all, and I can definitely say that it is not funny. There's maybe a couple moments here and there that made me chuckle a little bit, but no hearty laughs to be had here. Will Ferrell just kind of phones it in. In fact, he's the worst character out of all of them. You have Rachel McAdams in here. She's quite good. Pierce Brosnan plays Will Ferrell's dad in it. He's this kind of gruff fisherman in this small Icelandic village that they live in. Dan Stevens plays this like Russian pop star. So you have good people in here in kind of silly, fun roles. But the movie itself is just not very good. It's 2 hours. It's over 2 hours long too, which is insane. No. It is insane.
Absolutely not. No.
So, yeah, big pass on Eurovision Song Contest. I liked the scenes that took place in Iceland. I'm a huge fan of Iceland. I actually got married in Iceland. I love the country of Iceland, but even, it's really hard not to shoot Iceland and make it look beautiful. But it's like this movie is trying to make it not look like the beautiful place that it is, even though it doesn't really succeed. It still looks gorgeous in this movie, but it's like they're trying to make it kind of an ugly, overcast place.
Trying to ruin everything. That's just, no, thank you. Hey, don't worry. Don't feel bad, because I watch bad movies too. And one that I watched is At Brighton Rock.
Oh, yeah. I saw this.
You also watched, directed by Roxanne Benjamin. I got tricked into this one because everything made it seem like this was like a nature survival horror with a bear. And there's no bear.
Nah.
There's no bear until the end. The story of this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Like it's just such a waste of time. And it's much like Relic, where there's just like this slow burn to absolutely nothing. I mean, at least with Relic, you had a pretty fantastic finale. The finale is just like, are you serious? Like that, what was the point? Why did we do any of this? Like, how are you able to get people together with equipment and just, all that time and resources, money, everything for this? Like, it's just so bizarre to me.
Yep.
It's just so pointless. And it's crazy because then I read that she's doing the remake of Night of the Comet. Which it seems like a bad decision. I don't know if I would remake that movie.
No, because
that movie only works because it's the 80s.
Exactly. That's what makes Night of the Comet work, is the fact that you can't replace that 80s aesthetic. I mean, the look, the music, the clothing, like the radio station, like all of that stuff makes that movie so uniquely of the time.
Because it's not really even a good movie. It just works because of the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Boy, do I love that movie. Oh, I don't know. I would be curious to see how that's going to turn out, but probably not great. She did a segment on Southbound. I'm not sure which one, but I remember enjoying all of the segments of Southbound, and she did a segment on XX too, which I did not like that, but I thought some of the segments were okay. And I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure which of the segments she did in that one either. All right. Well, yeah, that's Body at Brighton Rock. I also can't recommend that one. I saw Blood Games from 1990. This recently got released on Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. It's directed by Tanya Rosenberg. This is it's sort of a rape revenge story about a an all women's baseball team who, it says softball, but they're very clearly playing baseball in the movie, so it's baseball.
Yeah.
It's an all women's baseball team who they're traveling around, making money. They're playing other teams, and they go to this like kind of podunk town, and they just beat the snot out of this other team of all men players, and they're pissed. You know, they're not happy that they got beat by a bunch of girls, and they go to leave town, and their bus breaks down, and two of them get attacked by some of the players, and they end up killing the guy, and the players end up going after the women and trying to like hunt them down, and one of the women ends up getting brutally raped by some of the men, and it sort of just turns into this like cat and mouse game. It's pretty good. I honestly could have done without the sexual assault angle. Like, the movie would have worked fine without it. And the weird thing is, like, the movie, it doesn't have as a very dark tone to it. I mean, there's like murder and stuff, but it all feels sort of intentionally campy. But then you have this really brutal rape scene, and it just doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of the movie at all. So I would have completely eliminated that scene, and the movie, it still would have worked fine as is. But other than that, I had a pretty good time with it. It's obviously not a good movie per se, but it is tremendously fun to watch. Just to see these women just beat the shit and kill these like rednecks. It's kind of fun. So, Blood Games, out now on Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. Also, Tanya Rosenberg, for some reason, she just sort of disappeared after this movie, and I don't know why. And I feel like that there are so many female directors that this happens to them, where they direct one movie and they just disappear, because, you know, with male directors, I feel like Hollywood lets them fail up all the time. And with with female directors, if they don't have like a blockbuster on their hands, they're done.
Well, and also too, it's just as simple. Even if their movie does make money, like if they're too assertive, like people won't work with them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's just yeah, and that's the difficult thing about like the history of cinema. It's just littered, not only with women but with color too, where you'll watch a movie and be really excited, like, oh my God, I'm going to check out everything they made. And you hop on IMDb and it's like 2 other titles.
Yeah.
Maybe. And you're just like, oh, are you fucking kidding me?
It's crazy. And I mean, obviously Blood Games isn't an amazing movie, but it was different. I mean, it was something that had sort of a different style, a little bit of a different tone for the time. And I don't know. I don't know the reasons behind why she didn't direct anything else. Maybe she voluntarily left the industry. I'm not sure, but I feel like I've seen this so many times in the past that something must have happened where she just couldn't get work anymore and left because of that.
Yeah, that's all I got. Besides Jaws, which guess what? Still good. Still great.
Jaws is great. That's like an annual watch for you these days, right?
Yeah. My wife is obsessed with Jaws.
I love Jaws too. Jaws. That used to be an annual watch for me. I think I'll have to bring that back.
Yeah, 4th of July, dude. It's perfect.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
Yeah,
crack open some beers.
Especially now. I mean, I'm sure that most of you have seen people referencing the mayor of Amityville on on Twitter.
Yeah,
with COVID,
dude. It's a different watch this year.
Yeah,
compared to other years, definitely a different watch.
With the unfortunate passing of Carl Reiner this week, I decided to catch up with a couple of his movies that I've never seen before. The first one being Summer School from 1987, and this stars Mark Harmon and Kirstie Alley. And this it's a pretty fun, light, kind of high school romp. It's about this gym teacher who he's getting ready to go to Hawaii for the summer. He and his girlfriend are going to go to Hawaii, have a great summer vacation in Hawaii, but then guess what? He's got to teach summer school.
No, come on.
And not only that, but it's the kids who need to pass remedial English, so they're like the dumb kids and the bad kids.
Oh.
Now, it goes to the same places that you would expect, where, you know, it's a teacher where at first he doesn't care about the kids don't care about him, they're not listening to him, and he doesn't mind. What he does when he first starts, he's like, let's just all go on field trips every day to the beach, and he gets in trouble for that. And then, like, eventually he starts to get through to the kids, and he starts to want to teach them, and they all have to pass this exam at the end. And, you know, it's all pretty standard stuff, but it's quite funny, and it's really enjoyable. And I liked it quite a bit. This is one that I could see myself revisiting in the future, because it's just a good time. It's good, light fun, summer fun. The other one that I saw was Summer Rental from 1985. Now, this stars John Candy as Jack Chester. He's an air traffic controller, and he's like been working for like 15 years as an air traffic controller, and he's never had a vacation. He's like addicted to the job, and he gets burned out, and he ends up like freaking out and almost crashing a plane because there was a fly on his monitor and it was like hiding the plane. No. So his work says you need to take a vacation. So they force him to take the summer off. So it's like a 5-week vacation, and he decides to go to Florida with his family. And it's just just a series of horrible situations that John Candy gets himself into, and it's really funny, and I enjoyed it tremendously. A lot of people didn't really like this one, and I don't know if it was just like I was sort of yearning for a movie like this. I don't know if it was because I haven't watched a John Candy movie in several years and have been, you know, unconsciously yearning to revisit a John Candy movie, because that could be the same. But man,
I think that's how it is. Like if you're a John Candy fan and you haven't watched the John Candy movie in quite some time, and you're either craving one or you just kind of happen upon one, like you're automatically gonna like it. I think just his presence alone,
yeah,
you enjoy yourself.
And for some reason, like I didn't know that, like I wasn't sure that he was the main character in this, but man, he is, and I'm so glad that I finally saw this, because I had a blast with it. It's dumb, like there's a lot of like silly things that happen, but overall, it's just so comical to me to watch John Candy have, like in the first scene, like the first day they're at the beach, he doesn't put sunscreen on, and he falls asleep, and for like the next half hour of the movie, he's just bright red because of the sunburn. Yeah. And then he like breaks his leg at one point, and he has this like giant inflatable cast thing on, and it's literally one thing after another. Like every scene with him, it's just a constant stream of horrible crap happening to him, and it's just so funny because it's just rapid fire John Candy reacting to a bad situation. And
yes,
I loved it. I thought it was just perfect. I thought it was so funny.
Good. I might have to check that one out.
Definitely. Yeah. Again, this is Summer Rental, and I rented this on Vudu, actually, so you can rent it on Vudu. I think it's on Amazon too. All right, let's take a look at what we have on VOD this week. On the 7th, we have Where Sleeping Dogs Lie. We have The Medicine, which I believe is a documentary about ayahuasca. We have Secret Weapon. Battlefield 2025, Fighting for Our Survival is the tagline of that one. We have Homewrecker. That's a sort of this comedic thriller. Did not enjoy that one. I saw that at some film festival last year and did not like it. We got Browse. This is a thriller with Lucas Haas. On the 8th, we have Mucho Mucho Amor. That's on Netflix. That's a documentary. On the 9th, we have The Beach House. That's on Shudder. I caught up with this just a couple weeks ago at the, the Chattanooga Film Festival. And I thought that it was interesting. It's kind of this cosmic horror story about these... it's about this couple who goes to this beach house and discovers that there's some kind of mysterious illness that has befallen people and sort of mutating them. And I think I might have mentioned it on the show. On the 10th, we have The Old Guard. That's going to be on Netflix as well. That stars Charlize Theron. Led by a warrior named Andy, a covert group of tight-knit mercenaries with a mysterious inability to die have fought to protect the mortal world for centuries.
This is Gina Price Blackwood.
Yep.
Which is not... That's like completely different from what she normally makes.
Yeah, it's a gritty, grounded, action-packed story that shows living forever is harder than it looks.
Huh.
Yeah, I'll give it a look. Why not? It looks very young adult, but maybe not. Let's see. We also have Money Plane. This is an action movie with Denise Richards, Kelsey Grammer, and Thomas Jane.
That's exactly who you would think would be in this movie called Money Plane.
It's an explosive casino heist in the sky.
Oh my goodness.
So wrap your head around that.
Wow.
We have First Cow coming out. This is Kelly Reichardt's new one. Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, A24 finally. They finally decided, you know what? This is not going to happen for us in theaters. Let's just put it out on digital. I love how like I was going to say Stuck Up, and then I was going to retract that, but I'm still going to stick with Stuck Up. I love how Stuck Up A24 is, where they just flat out refuse to release any of their stuff on digital first. Like they have to be in theaters.
It's so funny too, because they have those movies, and then they have the whole other 50% of their lineup is like direct TV bullshit that they don't even fucking care about and don't even talk about. It's like they're such a weird company.
Yeah, I like them, but yeah, they make some strange marketing decisions. We also have Volition. This looks like a sci-fi thriller. According to the poster, it says a time-bending sci-fi thriller, so there we go. Still a little bit of time-bending happening there. Haven't seen a good time travel movie in a while.
No, because it's played out.
Yeah, maybe somebody needs to, revitalize that shtick.
I think they need to. I think you need to wait though. I think that's the perfect thing. You gotta wait like a couple years.
Yeah, and then somebody like some crazy director is going to come out with something that's just going to twist it up. I mean, Tenet looks like it involves time bending a little bit.
I fucking love bending time, dude.
Yeah. We have Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets. We have Olympia. This is a virtual theatrical release. It's a documentary about Olympia Dukakis. We have Relic coming out. Let's see. Archive. This is another sci-fi movie starring Theo James and Stacey Martin.
Are they bending time at all?
It looks I mean, this is purely judging from the marketing materials here, but it looks sort of like an Ex Machina type movie. It's AI thing. Yep.
Yeah.
His goal is to be reunited with his dead wife, so he's like trying to make a robot version of her, some nonsense.
That's not gonna work out.
No,
he wants it to.
No, it's not. Definitely not. We have Deanie Bean is Dead. That looks like some kind of comedy. Love dies when you least expect it. Look out. We have Widow of Silence. That's a virtual theatrical release. We have A Deadly Legend. Not sure what that is. This is a real estate developer buys an old summer camp to build new homes. However, the property has a dark history that ties to a legend of supernatural worship and human sacrifice.
Oh, hell yeah.
We have Guest of Honor. That is a virtual theatrical release. That is directed by Adam Egoyan. Okay.
Oh.
I haven't seen him do anything for a little bit. And it stars David Thewlis. I like him.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe that's worth a look. That's pretty much it for VOD. That's a lot of stuff coming out this week.
Yeah, it is. It's the new normal now.
Let's take a look at what we have on Blu-ray. We have the complete Lindsay Baker Giallo collection. This is a box set from Severin Films. This includes Orgasmo, So Sweet, So Perverse, A Quiet Place to Kill, and Knife of Ice.
Ooh, Knife of Ice.
Yeah. I have not seen a single one of these. So
I don't know, but I mean, the title Knife of Ice sounds pretty damn promising.
Mm-hmm. We have The Day the Earth Caught Fire from 1961. We have The Flesh of the Fiends from 1960, starring Peter Cushing. Trolls World Tour from earlier this year. Spaced Invaders from 1990. I've been meaning to revisit that one. Spaced Invaders. Sci-fi comedy. We have P.O. Box Tinto Brass from 1995. Arrow's putting out Black Rainbow from 1989. There's a movie called Proximity that looks sort of like Arrow is also putting out Zombie for Sale. And Arrow is also putting out Inferno of Torture from 1969. Van Damme's Death Warrant from 1990 is getting a new Blu-ray release. Sorry We Missed You from last year is coming out on Blu. The Wild Goose Lake is coming out. Neurosis from 1982. That's a Jess Franco film. I've been meaning to watch more Jess Franco movies.
You should.
Maybe this is a good opportunity.
Yeah. You have plenty of time.
Yep. Go-Go Mania from 1965. Blood and Money from earlier this year. That's the Tom Berenger one.
Yes.
It's not a sniper movie, but it looks like he is a sniper in it. So.
Yes.
Ozone from 1995. What is this? While ambushing a drug dealer, Detective Eddie Boone is injected in a fight against the dealer with a new drug called ozone, which transforms the users into powerful zombies.
Yes.
Excuse me? I'm looking at the cover here, and it looks like there's all kinds of really cool looking, it looked like a Nightbreed style thing going on. I'm definitely adding this to my list. This is a must-see. It's right up my alley.
Absolutely must-see.
Hope Gap from earlier this year is coming out. That's the one with Annette Bening and Bill Nighy. Beelzebooth is coming out. That's on Shudder, so you can, if you have Shudder, you can watch it on there.
Yeah, save your money.
Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania. And that's pretty much it for the major releases. What about Criterion's this week?
Oh, we have Byron Haskins, The War of the Worlds from 1953. New restoration, new soundtrack, new commentary. Or I should say commentary from 2005. You also get the radio adaptation, directed and narrated by Orson Welles. The one that kicked it all off.
Mm-hmm. The one that sparked the frenzy.
Oh boy. Got that World of War fever.
Oh my. All right, cool. Yeah, that might be worth checking out. I feel like I've listened to at least most of the War of the Worlds, the radio thing. Like I feel like there was a class that I took in school where we listened to it. But I could be like misremembering that. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulsenet and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on your podcast platform of choice. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.